There is only one word to describe this book, to describe the experience of reading this book. One word that comes to mind, and that is cinematic. Literally, like from start to finish, cinematic. It is cinematic. It's so good. Like I'm after reading book two, I'm like, how is this gonna get better? Where is this gonna go to? Where are they gonna continue the story from? How are they gonna continue the story? What are they gonna do now? Because book two was insane, like I made a review of book two, and I gotta say this has defied expectations. Like each book is just getting better and better than the last one. I don't know how, um, like it's insane. It's insanity written so well. That's how I would describe this book. It's crazy, it's mind blowing, it's epic. The fights are crazy, and the way things are described, it's so cinematic. I'm gonna say it. Book three of the Sun Eater, Demon in White, was more cinematic than watching freaking Endgame in the theaters. I'm not even joking right now, and like I really feel like each book is just gonna get better and better. The way the story is building up, the things that are gonna happen that I don't know of yet, but I know it's just gonna be insane. And you know what's the crazy part? It's not just the fights that feel so cinematic, so well described in this book. It's the even the interactions with certain characters were so enjoyable. It was so insane. Like I want to start. I am gonna get into spoilers. Gonna get into massive spoilers right now. So if you guys haven't read this or you're planning on reading this, please stop here because trust me, you do not want to be spoiled when it comes to the Sun Eater series. And yeah, I'm gonna get into it now. The first thing that I want to talk about is um so much happens. So much happens in just like 300 pages, right? So many things happen. And it's like it's so crazy to me how the author can fit so many things in just a small amount of 300 pages, and yet it'll feel well paced, it'll feel normal, and the first thing I want to start off with is what this book is about. So in this book we see Hadrian. He becomes a knight of the emperor. Okay, so he's serving the empire. He goes on these missions for the empire, but obviously there's like a lot of propaganda. They're trying to get the people to have hope in the empire, but the people, right, in general, are there's like this cult surrounding Hadrian now. People are believing that he's half mortal. People are believing that he's the chosen one, the next god emperor, that he's the one to save humanity. And the empire does not like this, okay? Not specifically the empire, but the chantry also, because the emperor, right? The emperor, he is like on good terms with Hadrian, but it's not just him ruling over everything. There is a balance of powers, right? There is the empire, right, with the emperor and his wife and his kids, and then his distant cousins and whatever, right? Then there's also the chantry, which is like more of like on the religious side of things, more of like they control the narrative a little bit. Sorry. So there's a lot going on, and the chantry and a lot of people in the empire, right, in the emperor's like circle, do not like this cult surrounding Hadrian. They do not like the fact that people are believing that he's a prophet. They believe that this guy is a false prophet. Like this is some bullshit that's going on. And so that's where the story is, right? Like in the general sense of things. But this book is also about like the assassination attempts on Hadrian, him trying to learn more about the quiet, trying to figure out the mystery behind his half mortality, whatever you want to call it, right? So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. But basically this book starts off with the emperor, right? He gives him an impossible task, an impossible mission, because the emperor is worried. He's like, everywhere you go, there's trouble, and right now, like, it's not good for you to be here. It's like we need you away. We need you away from the chantry, from the people in my circle. We need you away. So they send him on a mission to find out what happened to these missing ships that were traveling to, I think, Gododin, or Gadadin, right? However you pronounce it. And this mission is supposed to be impossible. Like they're not even supposed to be able to like do this. Like this is literally why they sent him out, so that, either he finds nothing and he comes back and people lose faith in him, or something like that, or like he dies or something. Like they don't really want him here anymore. So he goes out and, defying all odds, he completes the mission. He finds out what happens to the ships. He finds out what happens to the people, right? But that's not even the crazy part. The crazy part is the fight that happens at the beginning of the book, like in the first 100 pages. When he finds out what happens to the people, he ends up fighting a Viadin, a general of um the Prince of Princes, okay, and Doriyaka, okay. So, he's like this threat in book three, and he's this threat because he's not just your average like Seosin prince or whatever. He's more like, he does strategic battles, right? He does strategic thinking instead of just raiding and looting and leaving. He does these strategic attacks on the planets, on the veil, on the border of the empire. Like he's very careful with, he's very like precise with his planning, and that is a big threat. He has six generals, the hands of the prince, okay, because the Sealsin have 6 fingers. So, Ubalu is one of the generals, and that's the first general that Hadrian faces. And this whole fight was cinematic as hell. I mean, the fight lasted 19 pages, okay? And I love that. I love that. Because in so many books, fights last maybe like a couple pages, 2 pages, half a page, 3 pages, whatever. Maybe like 5 max, okay? 19 pages from start to finish of them just straight fighting this guy, right? Everybody's jumping him, everybody's attacking him. So that's one of my favorite parts in the books, okay? And I'm like, how could this get any better than this? Like, I think they just started off I think Christopher Rocchio started off the book with a bang, and then it's like, what's gonna happen now, you know? I was wrong. It gets better and better. It gets crazier and crazier, more and more insane. And not just with the fights. Um, I love the scenes where Hadrian is speaking with the Emperor alone, like in the garden. I love it. The moment when um, Caesar, he calls out to Hadrian as he's leaving. He's like, "Do they say who you really are? Right? Are you really what they say you are?" And Hadrian says something like, he kind of confirms it. He's like, "Yeah, like, some stories are true, or I am half mortal, right?" And it just gave me goosebumps. It just, this interaction with the most powerful, right, uh, being in politics in this book, talking with probably one of the most powerful character, and like he's speaking with him. They're speaking with each other, and they're just thinking about what to do with him, all this trouble that's following him. And the moment he asks him, "Are you what they really say you are?" Like, it just gave me goosebumps. There's other interactions too that I really really enjoyed. Um, there's a scene with the Empress. Wh- Crazy scene, crazy scene. Just that interaction, that tension. The Empress does not like Hadrian. She also thinks that he's out to take the throne, take her husband's throne, to become, the next emperor. Even though Hadrian has no intentions of that. And there's this one part in the book that I really, really enjoyed, because it was just so, like, it just shows how, how powerful Hadrian's enemies are. That just from a word that he has to listen to them, right? And this scene was when the Empress made him kneel down, okay? That's fine, whatever, right? He kneels down. But then she says to crawl to her and to kiss her feet. So now, to kiss someone's feet in this book is like, that you're like the lowest of the lowest. You're like a slave, okay? You're like rock bottom. You're a nobody. And she says this to Hadrian, okay? Now, mind you, Hadrian is a knight of the empire, okay? The emperor made Hadrian a knight. So he's one of like the soldiers, and he has these little privileges where, the emperor sends him out to missions. He also has these little privileges of when he bows down, he doesn't have to like bow down all the way. He doesn't have to like, you know, um, go on. Like, there's like different little rules that go for a knight, because they're like the emperor's like, like direct, like general, you can say, okay? So she tells him to go on the ground and to crawl, and he has to do it. And he starts crawling to her, okay? And there's people watching, and then her son comes in and stops the whole thing. Now, the son Alexander, okay? I think he's the 107th child of the emperor and the empress. His character is very, very interesting to me. I can't wait to see where this goes, because he does go on expeditions with Hadrian, but at first he looked up to Hadrian, and then eventually he also thinks like Hadrian might come after the throne, which again is not what Hadrian wants. And there's like scenes like where like I love the scene towards the end of the book where Hadrian has had enough of Alexander, okay? And Alexander makes him kneel, and Hadrian kneels, and not out of love or respect. He does it out of peace. He just wants peace, okay? And Alexander slaps him in the face. I love these interactions. I love these interactions with these characters. Just how tense they get, how Christopher Rocchio describes them. It's phenomenal. He raises his hand to slap him again, but Hadrian, because he has certain things about himself, right, that he knows of, Hadrian moves his face in a specific way where when Alexander slaps him, his fingers break. Now, Hadrian just broke the fingers of a prince. I mean, technically the prince did it to himself, but you get the idea. Now, if I talk about every moment like this in the book, every moment I think is cinematic, this book is never gonna, I mean, this review is never gonna end. So I'm just gonna talk about another thing. Where this story is going is, like, I cannot wait to see what happens. The things that Hadrian has accomplished already in just by the end of the third book is mind blowing. And you know, again, I'm gonna, like, a lot of spoilers here. The scene where he sees the quiet. Oh my God, the lore drops, the lore reveal in this book. I felt like I was in like Bloodborne. You know the game Bloodborne, with the cradle and the baby crying, and then there's like the great ones. That's literally what this felt like. Okay, that's literally what this felt like. Where Hadrian learns about the quiet, and he learns about the Watchers, and how he realizes that he is just a pawn in the grand scheme of things. That everything that's happening is like a speck in the entire infinite vast galaxy. And yet the quiet, these gods, they chose him to complete this mission of good versus evil. And it's all up to Hadrian now. And because he sees these visions and this lore drop, right? The quiet give him the power of choosing the future. Insanity, insanity. It's so crazy. Like, not like really choosing the future, but more like seeing the future in the present time. So like if he's in a room, he can see what happens next in that room, okay? If he's in a fight, he can see what happens next in that fight. And he's able to choose realities in that moment. There is a scene where Doriaka finally appears, but in hologram form, and he fires an orbital beam laser at Hadrian. Now there's people watching. This is being like recorded, okay? And this scene was so cool because the moment Hadrian saw the red beam, the red flash, he saw all infinite realities of that moment and reached out and chose the moment where he doesn't die and the beam passes through him. And he says to Doriaka, "You should have bought an army." Oh my God. Like, the aura farming in this book that Hadrian does, that other characters do, you know? Again, it's a thick book, right? If I get into everything, I don't even know. But it's so insane. And I really, really enjoyed this story, and I really enjoyed the powers that Hadrian got. The lore drops are insane. The lore is crazy. You know, I really don't understand when people are always saying like book 2 is better than book 3, book 1 is, but whatever, right? I think each book is getting better and better than the last, and yet each book has its own great uniqueness to it. And each book has its own story to it. And again, it's all building up to one big thing, right? And that's him wiping out all the Sealson and killing 4 billion human beings. And yeah, it's insane. Um, there was one chapter that I really enjoyed, and I know I'm all over the place right now, and that is a chapter of meeting Tor Gibson again. I literally like almost cried reading that, and there's not a lot of books or stories in general that will make me feel like that, I'm reading this, and like I'm not gonna get too much into this scene because I already made a video on this. If you guys, I'll I'll link the video into my comment section. I'll pin it and you guys can watch it. I made a whole video just on that chapter alone because that's how much I loved it. But yeah, a lot of like crazy moments. Hadrian and Valka, like these scenes where like Valka is like, you know, by his side and they're facing the Prince Alexander, and the way it's described, where Hadrian's sitting down like he's on a throne, and Alexander has to answer to him, and Valka's like sitting by his side and she's laughing. They did such awesome scenes, and I know I'm probably like, from the top of my head, I'm probably forgetting like a lot of scenes right now that I do want to talk about. But yeah, I'm just saying this book is really cool, really really epic. Again, it's insanity written so well. Um, the lore drop is insane. Like the reveal of the Watchers, and how the Sealson are worshiping them, not the Quiet, and this whole battle of good versus evil. And like every time I'm reading this book, and every time, like I know what is building up to because they already say it in the first book, right? Because this is Hadrian recounting his entire story. And I always think when I'm reading these books, right? What would you do for the greater good of humanity? What would you do? Would you do what Hadrian has done? Would you go to such length, right? It's insane. Again, like the scenes in the chapters in Annika, right? In the planet Annika, and when he is on a different mountain, a different reality, right? And the Quiet are speaking to him. They're like, this must be, you have to do it this way. If not, that's it. The Watchers win. These evil gods that hate, like humans cannot even comprehend. This whole book is just mind blowing, and honestly, it's not just the story, but I feel like I've learned so much reading this, like perseverance and hope, keeping hope, the bonds you have with people, and like just in general, you know how things are done in this book, what the main character has to go through again, like to be consistent, uh, to have hope, to even at the lowest of the lows, like there has to be something done, right? Um, of love, of bonds, miracles unlooked for. If you know, you know. And yeah, like and I want to talk about one more thing. Um, there is one part of the book that really stuck with me, and this was on the Battle of Berenik, when they were fighting another Viadin of Doriaka, okay? Bahud was his name, I believe. And Hadrian says how historians, right? Historians that recount battles of the past, wars of the past, they think, even if they don't realize it, they think that they see through the eyes of God. And I really like this because what he says is basically that they are sitting comfortably recounting how this war happened and how each person has done this and they have went to here, and they see the war, the battle, as a chessboard, and the soldiers and the kings and queens as pawns, right? But what they don't know is that it's not like that. It's not like that. When you're in the present, in the war, it is not like that. You're not seeing it that way. Things are a mess. You're in battle. It's life or death, right? It's blood everywhere. Like it's a true fight. It's not like the historians sitting comfortably in their chairs, writing down and recounting the stories and explaining, oh, he went here, but he should have went here. He should have done this. It's easy for them to say that he should have done this or she should have done that. but it's not that easy once you're actually in battle. And I think like in general, like you can put that towards uh any aspect in life where like in the moment things may seem so difficult, and later on people will be like, oh, you should have done this or you should have done that, and they don't realize like, but like in that moment it's a mess, you know. And they, and I feel like you could really, you know, people can really relate to that. People can really relate to that. It doesn't have to do with just war. That whole part of the book doesn't have to do with just war. It can be with any aspect of life where like, you know, people are struggling or there's something bad going on, and then later on, other people will be like, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that, or this happened, that happened. But like, it's never that simple. You know, it's never that easy. But yeah, I know there's a lot of things that I really do want to talk about, other things that I've read in this book that were so amazing. But I just wanted to go over like my favorite parts of the books, of which I have some of them I said, like the Tor Gibson, the battle with Ubalu, um, so many things. And the assassination attempts. So this book, right, it's also about the assassination. It's like I said, the Chantry is his enemy. Um, oh, like the Colosseum scene. Oh my God, like so many parts I want to talk about, but this video will never end. Then the Colosseum scene was, I loved it. I loved the battle. I loved the fact that millions of people are watching Hadrian block antimatter with his bare hands, only just like solidifying his title as a half mortal. Like it's so insane. And the assassination attempts were so crazy to me, you know, like the guy who Hadrian was fighting in the Colosseum, he got poisoned because he failed to kill Hadrian. He like melted into the ground. And the scene where like he goes back and he's running and he thinks one of his crewmates are dead, and the ship explodes. There's so many scenes, and the assassination attempts I really liked because he survives them, and again that really just solidifies Hadrian's title and the way people see him, like this half mortal, the chosen one, you know, the next emperor, the person to save humanity. Like he's trying to avoid it, but it's like unavoidable. So I really like the assassination scenes. So yeah, this whole book is basically about Hadrian trying to find out about the quiet, right? Like the second half of the book is him trying to find out about the quiet, trying to find out what is going on. The first half of the book is him like navigating through these problems, the assassination attempts that the Chantry is trying to do on him. And I know this might sound crazy, but when I first started reading this book and the assassination attempts were happening, I honestly thought Switch was behind it. Okay, now hear me out. Hear me out. Switch was left on a planet, okay, not knowing where to go. Hadrian basically shunned him. He said, "You betrayed me. You lied to me." And Hadrian regret that later on. He did. And and honestly, I thought Switch would make his appearance in this book and be the person who's trying to do the assassination attempts on him, because because he hates Hadrian now for what he did, you know, for leaving him. But it turns out that it wasn't Switch; it was a Chantry, you know, and you know the Empress was also trying to kill him. So there's that. I love the introductions of the Ishtani, the bird beings in the book that are allied with the humans to take down the Sealson. Udax was really cool. The Ishtani were really cool, and the death of Udax on Burnaik fighting Bahud. I like again another cinematic moment that I'm just remembering and I'm talking about. This video is gonna keep on going. When Bahud dies, right? Hadrian was about to like cut him up, to scratch him out, because Bahud was trying to scratch them out. He raises his sword and he sees all the Ishtani looking at him, right? Because this general, the Viadin, he killed Udax. And Hadrian lowers his sword and he's like, it's all yours. And they flock to the body of Bahud and just, yeah, like, you know, like get rid of him. Really, really awesome scene. It really just shows like the depths of these battles and what they mean. Because the Ishtani are not even, you know, they're not like main characters, and yet they have their moments, and Hadrian has given them their moments. Hadrian has given them that chance to avenge Uruk. Hadrian didn't do it himself. I'm gonna stop here before I remember more stuff that I want to talk about. Overall, I really, really, really enjoyed this book so much. It was so amazing, and yeah, I loved it. Each book is getting better and better than the last. I love the story. Really fun read, and I'm now reading. Right, I already started. I'm already on page 95 of Kingdoms of Death. I'm so excited to see what happens now. Already, just in 95 pages, so much goes on. Okay, and this book is smaller than Demon in White, so I'll probably finish this quicker. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about Sun Eater Book 3, and I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed this read. I can see why people have been hyping up this story and why so many people are talking about it, and I'm honestly like so excited to see what happens next. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about, and um yeah, again, like the lore drop in this book is mind blowing. It's crazy. But I will link a video into my comments and pin it, and it's gonna be a video about my talk of the chapter Miracles Unlooked For. It's insane. Such an insane book. Such an insane book. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.